So I was at the theme park with my friends the other day at Knott's Berry Farm, and after every single time we rode a roller coaster, we'd look at our on-ride photos to see what we look like, and I realized how hot of an idea it would be to make all of the pictures on your Tinder profile only on-ride photos of you from theme parks. That's how you find the best significant other. If they don't swipe right on a ton of pictures of you looking like you're orgasming while moving at 80 miles per hour, then they probably are not the one for you. Anyways, welcome back to Let's Build the Ultimate Theme Park. We are taking a look at some of the stuff we built last episode, where we began building our Pokemon Snap interactive shooting ride. And it is all coming together pretty amazingly. And in this episode, we're going to continue working on our Pokemon Pokepark area and continue just building that up and building onto our little Pokemon universe. The first thing I'm doing real quickly is based off of a lot of comments from last episode. Most people wanted me to get rid of these Ghostbusters ghosts because I said that maybe they could be like Pokemon, but people are like, no, those are obviously not Pokemon. So we're going to get rid of that and only have Pokemon be the animatronics on the rides and not have anything else that might try to resemble Pokemon. So up here on the surface, we have this semicircle that leads to the stations of our new Dueling RMC coasters that I named Zamazenta and Zacian because these are like the Pokemon Sword and Shield coasters. And today we are going to really focus on the station for this coaster, and it is going to be one of the biggest undertakings as far as a station goes so far in this park, apart from maybe the Zelda castle. But before we do that, I am building a small little Poke Center that's also themed after Pokemon Sword and Shield to have this little reference picture right here. I'm sort of theming it after this, not exactly, but close enough. Some other things we're going to have in this Poke Park are the entrance to the Pokemon Snap ride, a little Pokemon food court, and in the next episode, we're going to be building a roller coaster called Mewtwo's Revenge. That's going to be a dive coaster that wraps around an angry Mewtwo, and it's going to be really cool. So building a Poke Center is actually really easy because these things are just like rectangular buildings. There's not much complexity to them. And Pokemon Sword and Shield, the Poke Centers have this like weird red tint to them. Like every piece of the building has this just weird red tint. And I thought that was kind of interesting, but I was able to replicate it in this game because you're able to color everything to the color you want it, thank God, so I was able to make it look pretty good. Then I also used these little Pokeballs to decorate it and make it look a little bit more themed, and I built a larger Pokeballs out of the little shapes they have. I used some like semi-spheres and some little tiny balls and just like combined them. I was actually able to make a pretty convincing Pokeball, so I'm pretty happy with that. And also a side note, I just started playing Pokemon Sword on my Twitch channel recently, and I've been editing that stream down into some like really funny Let's Play videos where I do a lot of editing to like all of my Let's Play videos that I put on my second channel for my streams. So if you guys want to see me play Pokemon Sword for my very first time, you can watch that on my other channel. I'll put a link down in the description. This is my first time playing the Pokemon game since Generation 2, so like everything is new to me. I mispronounce so many Pokemon names. But fortunately, it all works out because like chat like helps inform me about some of the updates, and it's really cool just to see what they've changed since Generation 2. Also, just a heads up to get you guys kind of excited, but I do build 2 new rides later in this episode, and it's probably some of the coolest rides I've built in this whole entire series yet. I got some inspiration from my Tiny Park series on like something I could do with this, so I like put it halfway through the episode to give you guys like something excited to look for halfway through the video. And then also inside these Poke Centers, I am putting these gigantic screens in the background, and I'm going to be importing some videos into the game to actually have some Pokemon related images in the Poke Center and in other parts of this Poke Park. Like on this screen right here, I'll get some footage of the actual Poke Centers whenever the nurse heals your Pokemon. I'll just import that into this game and voila, it'll seem like you're actually inside one of the Poke Centers. It's pretty great. You can do so much with the screens and images as far as personalization goes and adding like other types of IPs into the game. With the combination of like these 60 Pokemon models we have, all of the music and images and videos and like little things I can build and the structures that I can replicate, I think we're gonna make this a pretty convincing little region. I'm not even sure, should we like name this region the Tucano region? Maybe? What would be a good region name for this little Poke Park? I think that'd be cool to have something like, because there's the Kanto and the Sinnoh region, I think, and the Galar and the Alolan, and that's all the regions. Oh wait, no, the Hoenn. I can never forget the Hoenn region. Is the Hoenn region found in Idaho? That's my question. And then something else you might notice is I put a little ATM in the corner, and he's gonna be the little Rotomi. I want to put like some little shape or something on top to make it look like there's a Rotomi sitting on top, or whatever that Pokemon's called. I hope I'm like using the right terminology for everything. I'm really sorry if I'm not. But yeah, the Poké Center is pretty much done. It's looking really adorable, and I think it sets a great tone for the little entrance to our Poké Park. Now to start working on the station for the Zacian and Zamazenta coaster. So I wanted to get pretty ambitious for this station, so I decided to theme it after one of the Pokemon gyms from Pokemon Sword, because I thought it was just like so cool whenever I went to the first Pokemon gym and you just saw this like huge just arena of people around you just watching you in the middle of a Pokemon battle, and it just felt pretty surreal. So I thought it'd be really cool to have the loading stations for these coasters be in the middle of a Pokemon stadium, like a miniature replica. It won't be as big because those things are huge. Like, you see the buildings from the outside and they're like pretty large, but I mean, Pokemon just has that like curse where you go inside any of the buildings and they're 10 times larger on the inside. And that like definitely holds true for the gyms as well. I'm not sure if the stadium's going to be large enough to Gigantamax the Pokemon, but I'm not even sure if that's possible in the Tucana region anyways. This was a pretty tricky architectural feat because there is just a lot of different pieces to the stadium, from the stands to all the little wall structures, and I wanted it to feel multi-leveled and somewhat complex, but somewhat basic at the same time. It's kind of hard to describe. It's not as complicated as I'm like describing it, but I just wanted it to look nice and modern, and I think it actually came together really nice. A lot of these pieces blend together really nicely, and using some of these reference photos that I found online, I was able to create something that I think holds true pretty well. And my advice when building a structure this big is mainly to just like keep on moving, just keep on adding stuff. Like, don't overthink it too much, because if you overthink it, it's going to take you way too long. It's best to just like build things, and if you don't like them, then delete them later, because the structures in this game are pretty malleable. So if you make something and you decide you don't like it later, it's really easy to delete it and just like replace it in the future. I'd say when building things like this, you just need to make the big outer shell first, like the most important stuff. Get it all in there so you have the basic structure, and then after that you start adding the details and start finalizing things and adding those little tiny tweaks at the lights, the fences, and all of those small little things. Something you're about to see here in a second is on the reverse freefall coaster. I ended up adding these pieces that you can add while building that coaster that puts these big metal tunnels around it, and you can see set these like light patterns, and I added this inward spiral, and it's going to make it seem like you're traveling through time on this reverse freefall coaster, because you're blasting out of like an Egyptian tomb and then you're ending up in like a sci-fi area. So we needed to do something with time travel on that, and then I'm going to cover those metal pipes with some sort of like structure as well to tie it all in together. This will all look really good and like blended in once it's all finished. I know it looks like a complete mess right now, a cluster truck of different tracks and path pieces, but once we get all these walls put up and once we have everything blended in, everything should look freaking shiny as heck, like my shiny teeth and me, baby. Chip Skylark represent out here, baby. So when building most of these stations, there's like two separate portions. There's building the inner walls, which is like what the guests see when they walk through, and then you have to build the outer walls, which is what you see from the outside of the building, because it's really hard to like have the inner walls share the same walls as the outer walls, because you just want to add as much like variety and stuff as possible, and it just, I mean, normally the outside walls of a house don't match the exact inside walls of a house. So you have to kind of keep that in mind when building things, is build the inside walls and then just kind of case it on the outside, and then act like there's like insulation and stuff blown into these gaps and whatnot to keep the building warm, because it can get cold outside, and sometimes they gotta use insulation to keep these buildings warm so the guests don't freeze to death, because we want our park to be one of those theme parks that's open 365 days a year. Because we built it in an area where the weather is pretty good, because if it's open 365 days a year, then we'll be able to make a lot more profits annually, because if you have to close your parks down for like 5 or 6 months during the winter, that's no bueno. That's lots of missed opportunity. Why would we do that? No, this is the ultimate theme park. We made all of the best choices. So we built this theme park in SoCal where the weather is always perfect. There's hardly any rain to interfere with our rides and make them rust, so the upkeep costs are pretty low. We have this all figured out, baby. We're killing it. Then I'm liking the outer trimming piece that I put on top of the stadium. I think it looks kind of cool. It almost looks like a spaceship out here. By the end of the episode, this whole entire thing is really going to come together, but we've been working on the stadium for a bit, so I decided to take a quick little break and add a couple new rides, because on my other series, the Tiny Park Challenge, where I'm building the tiniest park possible, in the entrance, I have this portion where a path goes through the middle of a Larson looper that just like circles around, but I wanted to go a little bit bigger because, I don't know, I didn't just want to copy what I did for the tiny park. So instead, I decided to do this radius ride, which is a gigantic Ferris wheel that has a gigantic hole in the middle of it that allows us to put a path through the center of it. And then I decided to go the extra mile and put a Larson looper inside the middle of this radius ride. So we have a double loop, and then we have the path going through. Freaking mic drop. This thing is gonna be the freaking new entrance for the sci-fi area, and it is going to be so iconic, and it's gonna become one of the most like photogenic portions of the park that everyone will come to see. And then I was thinking that this radius ride, it looks kind of cool. The whole concept of this is awesome, but the people riding this Ferris wheel aren't gonna have the most fun time because they're not even going very high. So like, what's the point apart from just this cool aesthetic? And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, what could I do? And then I realized I think what I could do is kind of take advantage of the fact that half of it is underground. So what's gonna happen is I'm going to dig out a big like underground like cave portion around this Ferris wheel and put a majestic, magical, enchanted underground forest. And whenever the Ferris wheel dips underground, you'll be just like submerged into this new fairy tale like environment. You'll be like, whoa, what is this? And we'll probably put some other stuff in that forest as well, because we got a lot of space underground in this area. Guys, we're going hard. Ultimate theme park. This isn't no joke. This is real life. Sort of. It's also a game. Also, another random thought that just crossed my mind, but whenever I have this park finished in the future and all of the space is filled up, I wonder if I should do what actual theme parks do and like replace a pre-existing ride and like tear it down. Because you know when a ride gets old and they tear it down to replace it with a new one? Should I do that with any of the rides in this park? I feel like that's kind of pointless. None of the rides actually age in this game, so there's not really a reason to do that. And besides, after this park is done, I should probably just like throw in the towel and work on other series. Too many people want the Ultimate Zoo, and I'm sure other games out there exist that I can build ultimate things in, but that's still just a funny idea. The reason I was thinking of that though is I was thinking about how cool it would be to like do a direct for this theme park. You know how Nintendo does directs where they announce like the new games that they're going to be dropping? Be cool to like make a direct for the ultimate theme park to announce the new ride that's going to be built or something, just like a really over the top announcement, because like Six Flags and Cedar Fair does that whenever they announce new rides. But I'm not going to end up doing that. It was just like a random thought that I had in my head because I have to think about this theme park way too much because I have to commentate and build it all the time, so there's just always a million thoughts related to it going out of my head. There is some like other cool ideas that I'm like working on behind the scenes that I want to tell you about eventually, but once they're closer to being done, that's just going to make this theme park even cooler for everybody. Building this stadium though reminds me of a previous build that I've created, but not in Planet Coaster, but in Minecraft. I remember one of the first things I made in Minecraft, and I built a lot of this on stream and did lots of stream related stuff to it. It was on my old server called YoCraft. It was this thing called Silver Course and Gold Course, which were these parkour courses that had 30 levels each, and they were all like really themed. It was really cool. I need to try to get those worlds again, just like thinking about that, because I'm sure some of you listening right now probably remember that and want to play that now. But I remember at one point I was going to turn them into a Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Gold course, and I added like tons of Pokemon pixel art to it, and I made this spawn for the parkour courses a Pokemon Stadium. And so I created a Pokemon Stadium in Minecraft back then, and it was really cool. And I remember like losing the world due to like some sort of weird corruption that happened, and I didn't have a backup, and I ended up losing it and being disheartened, and I never like went back and finished that idea after that. And that is like what this reminds me of, because that was the last time I built a Pokemon Stadium and the only time I had built a Pokemon Stadium. So this is the second time I've built one. So I have a little bit of practice, but it was in Minecraft. I miss building stuff in Minecraft. Building stuff in Planet Coaster feels very similar, just because of the whole element of like having no limits. You can kind of just do whatever you want and just having this like awesome sandbox. If Planet Coaster had some more like gameplay elements to it that allowed you to actually run around these world as people and like with a control stick or arrows, I feel like there's a lot more potential for these game engines, and like Frontier could do some awesome stuff with it. We'll just see how these simulation games keep evolving, because I feel like there's so much more potential than what they currently have. But we're definitely getting there. I mean, if you just compare what the steps we went from like Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 to Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 to 3 to Planet Coaster, I mean, we're already making leaps and bounds. If you think about the differences between RCT 3 and then Planet Coaster, which came 10 years after that, imagine the game that's going to come 10 years after Planet Coaster. Like, it's just going to be a big exponential snowball effect, and as the culture and communities grow, it's just going to get better and better. And that's why I'm happy I'm making these videos, is because we're able to pull more and more people into these games and this culture, and we're able to just sit here and like think about all these new ideas and just like speculate on what could happen with these games, that it just can make us excited together about the future of them, and we can all like give our future input on forums and stuff. And since Frontier listens to their community, hopefully it'll alter the types of games we'll have in the future, and we can just have some of these ultimate simulation games. I'm excited. That's the reason I'm like such a big video game nerd, is I just love to see how they just evolve and the game design behind them, especially the simulation games. And there's so many simulation games. Holy crap. I love simulation games, but I cannot believe like they come out faster than I can even learn about them. There's so many people out there developing amazing simulation games, and I'm just like playing the same one all the time. But not enough good ones about theme parks. Although lots of people tell me to play No Limits too, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to get into another theme park building game, but at the same time, I think that one's more realistic to some capacity, so it might help me learn more about like roller coaster mechanics if I were to do that. And then lots of people ask me when I'm going to start doing my Planet Zoo videos, and I want to give a definite answer on that so you guys can know when to expect that. Whenever I finish the Tiny Park Challenge, I will start doing Planet Zoo after that. But what I plan to do for Planet Zoo is my first series for the game is going to be on challenge mode, which involves the finances, and I'm going to play the game like how it's actually supposed to be played, where I build stuff with money involved, because that game really is a lot more fun if you pay attention to the micromanagement and like the culture of the game, and you learn about the animals, and you kind of just like build bonds with the animals. I feel like if I did it like the Ultimate Theme Park series, where it's all like time lapse and stuff first, I don't think that would really work. And then I don't want to start the Ultimate Zoo, honestly, until I'm done with the Ultimate Theme Park, because having like two types of series like this at the same time would be like too much. So I'm guessing we'll probably start the Ultimate Zoo in like a year or so, but we will do other Planet Zoo related content that'll probably be even more entertaining anyways. I also want to wait before I start the Ultimate Zoo, because I want to wait for like more DLC for the game to come out, so I can truly know like what animals and options we're going to have to work with, because I feel like they might release like a lot more animals and like possibly birds and aquariums and stuff, and I'd rather have that stuff out before I start the Ultimate Zoo. But we can start a challenge mode, and that's honestly like the more fun way to play that type of game anyways. I want to do a challenge mode for Planet Coaster eventually too, because I like never think about any of my finances, because in both of the series that I've done for Planet Coaster, they've been in sandbox mode to where we have unlimited money, so I haven't had to worry about that. So I think it'd be interesting to play Planet Coaster and have to actually worry about like the finances and the park entrance fees and the ride fees and how much the rides cost and everything, because that is like, it makes it a completely different game. Also right here, I am just making the outline of our Pokemon food court. If you guys have any good ideas for some names for some Pokemon food stands, let me know down in the comments so we can have some just like really topical Pokemon cuisines in the game. And something else I thought of that I haven't done in this episode, but I'll do in a future episode, is I can make like berry trees with like the Pekka berries, orange berries, and all the weird berries that Pokemon have. But I'll just put some trees in this area, and I'll put little tiny colorful spheres in the trees to make it look like they're full of berries, and they're gonna look way better than the ones in Pokemon Sword, because the trees in Pokemon Sword look like they're from a game that was in between the GameCube and Nintendo 64, which is so freaking weird, and I don't understand why. So this building that we have constructed here with a really high-pitched red roof, this is going to be the entrance to the gym, like the area, like the big hall area where people get signed up and where everybody waits before they go into the stadium. And then there's all of these hallways that lead into the stadium itself that are the queues for the ride. And I think this ride is just going to be kind of a surreal experience, especially for people who would be Pokemon fans, because just the concept of just walking onto the floor of this Pokemon gym and just seeing all these stands around you, and just you'll be hearing Pokemon music and all the lights will be going, and it'll just be such a high energy environment, and you're about to get on a roller coaster. People are getting off the last train and everybody's smiling because this is one of the best coaster experiences they've had in their life, because RMC hybrid coasters are usually some of the most fun coasters in the park, and just looking at this coaster, I think it would already be the funnest ride in the park as far as the G's and the excitement go. And then you also look up and you're gonna just see these awesome pictures of legendary Pokemon Zacian and Zamazenta, and it's just gonna be a really cool high energy environment, and I cannot wait for this ride to be finished because it's just gonna be so killer. And on top of that, in a few moments, I'm going to be placing like some fire effects, and I'm going to put a Charizard and Electabuzz in the center of the stadium fighting each other, and there's going to be like fire effects and lightning effects like they're attacking each other constantly, and it's just going to be so cool. Almost feels like we're in a little miniature football stadium too, or soccer, or I guess football can mean both, can't they? The one thing I'm unsure if I can do, and I'll have to look through the animatronics to see like what we have to choose from, is I'm not sure if I'll be able to have people in the stands like cheering you on and stuff. There's like a lot of human-like animatronics though, and I'm sure I'll be able to find something that'll work. So we'll have to just see what happens next episode. I kind of got to the point at the end of this episode where I kind of did all I could do for one recording session. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but like the amount of work we get done per episode in these later episodes in comparison to like say the first 30 episodes of the series, we get so much more done now. Each episode of the series now is probably equivalent to like 3 episodes of what the first half of the series is. I've been like putting a lot more work, and I cut a lot more out, and I just speed things up a lot more. So it's just hard to get everything done in each episode that I want to get done. But because of that, I'm able to make each episode a lot more epic and have a lot more stuff like spring to life. Like at the beginning of this episode, we didn't have any of this stadium, and now we're getting close to the end, and this thing is like getting close to being done, and it's just looking freaking awesome. And I can't wait to just continue expanding on this area in the next episode by building the new dive coaster, which I think will be a great addition to the park. And I'm really curious, does anybody have any theme park trips planned for 2020? I am planning one with my friends on the East Coast, hopefully in like August is when I'm hoping to do it. And I'm wondering if anybody else around the world is traveling around and going to any theme parks. I would like to hear about it in the comment section below if you are, because I just like to hear people's stories. So to end this episode off, I'm pretty much just cleaning up the upper edges to the stadium and trying to make it look really good from above. We get most of it put together, and I would say after this episode, the stadium is about 85% done. There's still a few changes I want to make, and I want to polish it up and make it look better and add some more lighting effects and stuff like that. But I think we got most of it done this episode, which I guess this isn't nearly as ambitious as like say Hyrule Castle, because that thing is just gigantic and has so much detail. But I think as far as coaster stations go, this one slaps pretty dang hard. It wasn't the most difficult thing that I've built, but I definitely think it has that look that is going to impress people as soon as they see it and get them like really excited. And so having this ride, the Pokemon Snap ride, and then the Mewtwo dive coaster, I think we'll have a pretty good arrangement of rides for our Poke Park, and it'll pretty much be equivalent to our Legend of Zelda area. So we'll have 2 video game themed areas in the park, and even though this whole entire park isn't going to be video game themed in general, I think it's cool to have little sections that have little video game influences. And I'll probably have a couple more rides that have some video game themes. Like I'm thinking of having one of the rides, like the drop tower ride, back in the city be like a Mario Odyssey drop tower. Because I have some Mario pieces, and I don't want to make like a Mario roller coaster because I don't have that many pieces. But I think it'd be cool just to have like a couple thrill rides and stuff themed after video games as well. I also have those Crash Bandicoot dolls. I think having a Crash themed ride like over in the jungle area could actually work out pretty well as well. But I think that's pretty much all I have to build for you today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next episode. And I hope you enjoyed this final fly-through shot of what we built today.